Welcome. My name's David Bailey. I'm a life coach, and I'm joined with my friend Kok Soon here, who is a violinist who's going to be taking part in the Virtual Life Wellbeing Festival. And I thought it'd be a good time to introduce him, for him to speak a little bit about his passion in the music that he plays and how he got into it. So welcome, Kok Soon. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks, David, for inviting me. Hi,
Yeah.
my name is Kok Soon, and I play the violin, and I also a street performance in Singapore, here in Singapore. And I've been playing for over 10 years already, and I've been performed for many occasions, like concerts or like weddings or corporate events. And playing violin has been a big part of my life because it actually helped me to, it's a gateway for me to relieve the stresses that I got from studying, from working. And I believe that through music, it actually heal people's mind, and then it actually help us to get a more healthy lifestyle. Yeah.
Nice. And how did you first get into music? What was your introduction to that?
Okay. Well, pardon me. I think it was quite a mistake. I get to know about violin when I was actually watching a drama. I was watching a drama series. It's a Hong Kong drama series, and then I was very into the music, and I was touched by the music, the original soundtrack. And after that, I thought to myself, saying that, okay, maybe I should pick up an instrument, violin, so that I can make similar kind of music, very sad and then very touching music, very spirited. But then after a few years, I go back to listen to the same soundtrack and realize that it is not played by the violin. It was played by Erhu. So for me to pick up a violin, it was actually true a mistake. But then I love what I choose. Yeah. So it's quite an experience.
Hmm. So it was through the inspiration and through that particular drama series and the feeling that you got inspired you to play.
I was so touched by the original soundtrack that I emotionally touched. And that was a very beautiful experience. A wonderful mistake.
Yeah, very much so. I'm glad that you made that mistake.
Yeah.
And violin, it takes a lot of dedication and focus to get good at. So what is it that gave you that sticking power to focus and concentrate and commit so much time to something? Because I know, there are certain people try hobbies and they're difficult and they give up. But what was it that allowed you to continue or enabled you to continue? Because I know it's not something you pick up and just, it sounds great immediately.
I mean, I get what I am today, not only through the passion. I mean, passion is important, but then there is another element of which contribute to the achievements today is through the perseverance. Yes, it is very difficult, and then it's like a cycle where you need a passion to. I have the passion to play the violin, and then through the music that I created, that itself fuels my passion even more. So it's like a cycle that it keeps fueling my passion that I continue to play. And I used to play, I used to practice like 7 to 8 hours a day when I was first starting to pick up the violin, and no one forced me. So the key is no one forces me to pick up the violin. So it's entirely up to myself that I make the decision that I want to play. And this is an instrument that gives me that amount of passion, feels, and then motivation through listening to the concert. Look at the maestro, then the way they play, the message they deliver, actually you helps motivate you further and push you further to pursue and continue playing the violin. Yeah, so that's how I keep myself motivated. And until now, I still haven't, give up the violin. I will never.
Yeah. And you mentioned that through the music is healing. And could you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, let's say, I've been through, ups and downs in the life where I graduated a few years ago and I start working. And the life is kind of stressed where, there's a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of things that you accounted for. And you just don't have a place, to escape to. But then through music, I was like, it's a different world. It's a different world for me because I only accountable to myself. And then through the music, during playing, like when you're playing the music, playing the violin, you are kind of like into a state where people call it flow, where you forget about the existing of the time. You
Mm,
forget about everything that is around you. What you do is only playing the violin into the music. And that kind of thing, that kind of experience actually helps me, to distress and then to relieve some of the stresses that have been accumulated, during working hours or, having arguments with people. Because for me, I think music is very honest. What you're thinking, what you're feeling right now, you cannot lie to music.
mm,
So, for example, if you're feeling sad now, then just happen that there is some music that just happen to touch you. It communicates with you, and then it kind of, it will ask you to be honest to yourself, be honest to your feeling, and you will face the feeling and you overcome it instead of ignoring it, or just kind of tends to hide your feeling, and you don't face your feeling. And this kind of thing, I think through music it kind of makes you become honest to yourself and makes you face the feeling, your true feeling, your inner self. Listen to your inner self. So that's why I felt music is a very healing, healing way to to distress and kind of thing, to get through the obstacle and the hard times.
mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's actually a big part of the work that I do is helping people be honest with their feelings and face it rather than avoid it or distract themselves. So it's interesting how you use music to allow yourself to really be more expressive and honest.
Be honest to myself.
Yeah. And how do you find it in relationship to the audience? Because when, e.g., when you're playing and the effect that it has on other people, and then that effect, how does that affect you also as a player to see the interaction between the audience?
I will talk about one of my experience where we have this kind of a relationship with the audience, because I was a street performer.
Yeah.
I'm a busker. So the gap between me and the audience is very close. So sometimes there were people who just a family just drop by, listen to my music. They bring their child, and the sense of satisfaction where I start to feel that my music matter to people is when there was one time a person, he was standing there, listened to my music for about 1 hour,
Mm.
and then later on, he go and buy a whole fried spring chicken to me and put at my side just to support my music. And then after that, he texted me because I usually will give out name cards, and pardon the airplane. Yeah. So he actually texted me and telling me how emotional my music had made him to be, because he been just through the loss of the partners, and then through the music he kind of release the stresses, release the loneliness that he had for the past few months because of the loss of the loved one. And this is when I start to feel, oh, I don't just play the music, for myself only.
Mm.
I can use the music and empower people, and try to and start to affect people in a good way, and start to help them in a good way. So this is when I feel that this kind of satisfaction is, I cannot get it through, like working as an engineer and so on. So that's why I think this part of the passion and the satisfaction actually helps me, keep myself even more motivated. Yeah. So
Mm. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a
and
really
that's why I felt like performing on the street is also a good way to actually closing the gap between classical music and the audience, the general public. So that's why I also continue doing what I'm doing as a busker as well, a weekend busker. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I love doing street stuff as well, and I think for art it's important to be connected to the audience, and for whatever kind of work you do on the street, it's a great way to really hone your craft, because if you can perform under those conditions, then you can perform under any conditions. So I think that's a very cool and also a very touching story that you mentioned. And I know for me, like, I love music, and I think there's an aspect of it that is beyond words, because words they're not perfect. They're just representations of things that we feel, which sometimes we struggle to say or to clarify in words. But I think there's an ephemeral quality to music whereby it kind of connects on that, an emotional level beyond speech.
Yes. And it is also universal. So you can use your music you speak to, because here in Singapore, you used to have a lot of tourists. So I used to play to, in front of a lot of tourists. So it is a universal language. So, people speaking Chinese, Korean, Japanese, they can understand through music. So that's why I felt it is very important. It's very important. Yeah.
Mm, absolutely, yeah. And do you play in a group or an orchestra, or is it just solo stuff that you focus on?
Yeah. I used to play in an orchestra. I used to play in the National University Symphony Orchestra, and I also have a string quartet. I formed a string quartet, but due to this COVID-19, so we cannot actually meet up and continue playing. But what I would say is the experience is different from playing solo, because when you're playing in an orchestra, it's like teamwork. That you
Yeah.
need to listen to other people more than yourself. You need to listen to other people more. You need to synchronize with the people and then work with others, listen to each other's tempo, rhythm, and then the dynamic. So it's a very unique experience where you kind of doing the teamwork in the other form, like through the music. So yeah, and it's quite an experience, yeah, to play with and play in orchestra. Yeah.
Cool. And what do you have? What going forward? What's your vision for your own music? Like, is it going to be doing more solo stuff, or writing your own music, or do you have any plans for where you'd like to take it?
Oh, for this career path, I would say I will continue playing, but I want to form more orchestra. I want to form more quartet, where I can have a city tour, because here in Southeast Asia, especially for example Malaysia, people still don't quite appreciate classical music. They do, but then it's not quite quite not common. It's not a common things in Malaysia. So what I will try to do is, after COVID, I will, team up with my friends, my partners, and then we'll go to have a tour concert around Malaysia, and we'll start to, do more sharing. Do more sharing instead of educating them, because we feel that we must be at the same level, that we use music to share our experience with them, but we don't we try not to be sound like very educating or educated them, so that people start to shut up yourself, because you try to being bossy and whatsoever. So that's my next thing that I will do after COVID. I will say I will form a group of people, a quartet or a chamber music group, and then tour around Malaysia and start to perform for people. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds great. And what have you got planned for? So you're helping join the wellness virtual wellness festival.
Yeah.
What have you got planned for the performance there?
Well, I prepared one of my favorite songs. It's called Gabriel's Oboe by Ennio Morricone, who just passed away during COVID-19. But
The
his music
Italian
is
composer.
is very and powerful. So I choose this piece because this music actually help help me to get through this lockdown, at home where I feeling, lonely and alone and helpless. And then this music actually get me through and then kind of like lifted my shoulder. So it actually empower you to looking at the bright side. So yeah, and me and my pianist and I were working very hard toward this song, and then we'll start prepare the best for the audience. Yeah.
Cool, man. I
Yeah.
look forward to it. I really like that composer as well. I know
Yeah.
from all the spaghetti western movies. So yeah,
Yeah.
man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. And for anybody that hasn't got their tickets yet, we'll put a link in the description. It's free to register. So Kok Soon's going to be there with his pianist playing that piece. I'm going to be doing a mini workshop, and we have also Susu from China doing yoga and Lorena from Germany doing hip hop dance. So please click the link. And thank you so much for speaking to me today, Kok Soon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Awesome.